Good Mom and Monday.
You're here with the Mistake Mama podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Mandee.
And we are your hosts. This week, we're going to be talking about baby-led weaning and introducing solids for the first time, how it differed between our kids, what we thought about when we were first going into it, and if our thoughts have changed at all since then.
Yep.
So let's get right into our beginnings.
Yes.
Books that probably haven't changed.
Hey.
Oh.
I have an update. I have finished.
You finished
I
it?
finished it. And boy, oh boy, did it leave me on one hell of a cliffhanger.
And that's the second one, right?
Yep.
And the third one isn't even out yet.
January.
Oh,
it's pre-ordered.
See, that's why I'm not starting those books. I won't do it.
The intrigue was too intense for me, so I had to dip in. It's kind of nice because the cliffhanger it left me on, I don't think, you know how sometimes when you end a book, then when one doesn't come out for a while, you're like, I almost feel like I need to reread those so I can catch back up. It left me on such a solid cliffhanging end that I'll be able to start the next one right away.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. I believe.
I have made progress in mine.
Well, that's good.
I'm a little over halfway.
Nice.
Yes. I've been having such trouble sitting down and actually reading a physical novel. Like, right. I can read Kindle every single day.
Yeah.
I can listen to audiobooks every day. It's it's the physical turning the pages, because I'm almost always like holding a child.
Yep.
And they like to rip pages. And I don't want that. So.
And most of the time, unless it's a small book, which that's not a small book.
It is not a small book.
You have to hold with two hands.
Yeah.
When it's a smaller book, you can kind of do the,
Yeah. Where you just kind of hold it.
Yeah.
All wonky.
I don't know. We're trying to be Spider-Man over here. But, yeah.
Yeah, but that book's like, what, 700 pages?
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. And I started a new series.
Okay.
That I'm not... So somebody in the book talk group that we were in, I believe it was that one, suggested it and said that it was free. Like, you know how sometimes Amazon will just put books out that are free to buy on Kindle. So it was a series and it was free. And I was like, okay, randomly, I'll try it. It's like, they said something about like mafia, like crime type, whatever. Okay. It's also smutty.
Okay.
It's called the Triad series.
I've heard of it. You don't like it? You're like, not really sure about it.
I don't know if I'm just coming off such an intense, like, detailed book, and I'm going into a very not detailed, very predictable, very, like, and the smut seems very forced.
Oh. I hate when they do that.
Like, okay, a little spoiler.
Okay.
She gets kidnapped in the very beginning of the book.
Of course she does.
By these mafia gangsters. Okay. And then immediately, like, has sex with one of them.
I don't like when they do that. Because, like...
I like a storyline with spice.
Yeah.
Like, give me a good storyline and you can mingle in the spice as it feels natural. I don't really like the books that it's, like, full spice with very little story.
Yeah.
Or crappy story.
And I also don't like when the spice is so unrealistic. Because, yes, she's going to get kidnapped and be terrified for her life and then come for the man.
Yeah. And I mean...
Who did it? Like...
And she's also, like, another kind of spoiler, but she's also into, like, she gets turned on by, like, crime and murder and stuff.
I feel like...
And so that's why she's, like...
I feel like in real life, though, that would maybe not. But, I mean, something similar happens in, like, Haunting Adeline. You know, she gets turned on by the stalker.
Right.
So, I mean, but they have it's like a slow burn for them to get together.
That. This was like a slow burn for 2 pages.
Oh, you know, see,
they don't right into the sack.
They don't do it until at least halfway through, and it's a lot of, like, I don't know if it's like consensual non-consent, because it's not, she doesn't ever technically consent, but she also doesn't say no.
Right.
So it's like,
yeah. This book's also only 200 pages.
Oh, that's a short novel.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 3 books, I think. 3 or 4. I think it's 3.
Those are like 600 pages total between all
I
of it.
think so.
That's really short.
So I'm like almost done with the first book.
Okay.
Because I've just come off of a really hard to read long books.
Mm-hmm.
And now this book, I'm just like, meow.
Yep. All right.
So yeah, I mean, I might read the second and third one, but I don't know. We'll see how this one ends.
See. All right.
Yeah. That's my update on my books. At least it's
Well, that was
different
an
than what
update.
you've
Yeah.
been hearing.
I'm hoping that by, maybe not the next time we meet, because we might meet up tomorrow. Maybe in the next couple of weeks,
Right.
I'll have an update for you that I finished it or that I started something else. Because I tend to read some books in between when I'm reading some really big, in-depth books. Because I need that break and I still want to read.
Yeah.
Yeah. I keep trying to convince myself to pick up Credence. I don't know if I can get into that yet.
Yeah, I've thought about reading that one.
I have a few other books too that I'm like, I really should read this book. And then I'm like, I don't know if I really want to get into that trope right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the hard part.
Right.
Is I really struggle because, like, I mean, if I don't know I'm going into a book, I often won't go into it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes knowing the trope, I also won't go into it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like certain things I really want to be in the mood for.
Yeah, I agree. I thought about starting the Crave series because I also have all those except the last one.
Mm-hmm. I think I have
it's not
all of
out.
them. Oh.
Or is it out now?
No, it's out.
It's out now.
Wait. Is it out?
I don't remember when it was supposed to come out. I know it was supposed to come out this year.
I don't remember either.
But I thought about starting. There's so many in that series that I...
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they're young adult, so they're
Right.
supposedly easy reads, even though they're huge.
Which maybe after this triad weird book, maybe that would be a good one to get into.
Mm-hmm. I have all of the hardbacks.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I'm like, I really should just get into some Kindle ones so that I can try to get through them. Because I can do that when I'm like laying down with Ellie, putting her to sleep.
That's what I do.
That's my favorite time to read.
Yep.
Is at night, and instead of like watching TV or playing on my phone or something.
Yeah, it winds you down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
what
I do.
Do that with physical books.
No, not as easily.
No.
Or you have your little light. Because I have a little book light.
Yep.
But then the kids are like,
what you doing? Yeah. Damon
or they want to play with it.
Burned out my book light.
Oh, bummer.
And that's LED. But he did the on off, on off, on off, on off, on off, on off. And then it just was like, I'm done.
Mine, I think, is rechargeable.
Mine's not.
But I also haven't let Maverick play with it. But I haven't used it in a long time either.
Yeah, it just kept getting left down low by me or by Thomas, because Thomas would use it too.
Right.
And then it would be on for like a day and I wouldn't even realize it.
Right.
And I'd go into my room at the end of the day and be like, oh,
Great.
fantastic.
Yep. That's exactly what I needed.
Yep. So I need to get myself a new book light.
Yes. I'll try to find the one that I got. I really like it.
Okay.
The only thing that sucks is you have to charge it, but it holds a charge for a really long time. Unless Damon's going to turn it on and off.
Yeah, I just need to put my book lights up high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Wins, fails?
Wins, fails.
You have a fail for me.
I have a fail for you.
Do you want to do wins first or?
I can start with my win.
Okay.
So my win is that on the super hot day, we had a day where it was like 105 over here.
It was ridiculous.
We packed up and went to the coast. I was like, we are cooling down. And we had a really good time. It was still kind of hot over there. Like, it was definitely like Michael and Maverick had their shirt off, warm on the beach, but it was way cooler.
Oh, I bet.
I think it was like 76.
Oh, nice.
And it wasn't
That's
super breezy.
Much better.
Yeah. So yeah, that was all fun and dandy. The rides there and back home weren't as fun and dandy.
Oh no.
On the way there, we got through Philomath.
But I thought this was supposed to be a win.
Well, the win was we went, and
Okay.
that it was good time once we were there.
Okay. So wait, is this the fail that Michael was talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, that's related. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were getting into the fail.
Yeah, fail time. So we got through Philomath, and we were just getting to where now you're up through like the hills and you're going through and whatever. And I'd been periodically checking on Quincy. I'm in the passenger this time. Normally I drive, but I'm in the passenger. And I was, checking on her, whatever. She was just sucking on her toes, being, cute girl, whatever. I turned back. I'm probably looking straight for probably like 3-4 minutes. I look back and I'm looking at her. I'm like, what is all over you? What is that? And she, right when I'm looking at her doing this, she's nodding off. And I'm looking, and I'm trying to figure out what could possibly be all over her. And I'm like, Michael, we need to pull over. And he's like, why? And I said, pretty sure your daughter has shit all over her.
Oh, no.
So we pull over. It's like 102 degrees out. We're in this random gravel pit off the road. And we get out, and sure as shit, she's shit.
Oh, no.
And she has, because she was playing with her toes, so her legs were up in the air. And I think she just found a way into her diaper and was just smearing it in those like 5 minutes that I wasn't looking at her. Don't know how she did it so fast. But it was all over her face, in her hair, on her arms, on her legs, on her car seat. Everywhere.
Oh, no.
Maverick's asleep. Now we are waking Quincy up, so she's screaming because we just woke her up from a nap, and we're scrubbing her because in that 5-minute time span, I'm not kidding you when I say 5-minute time span, it has also dried.
I mean, it's fucking hot.
It was hot, and it was like smeared, so it was, not very thick. Anyway, so we're like scrubbing her in the front seat, and she's just screaming away. And then Maverick woke up, and he's like, beach? We're like, nope. We still have like an hour drive. We just had to pull over for 20 minutes while we cleaned up your sister in her seat because she made a mess. And then...
Wait, was this on the way there?
This was on the way there.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So we changed her clothes into the one extra outfit that I brought. And then we continue on. Then Maverick, probably like 30 minutes later, he's like, I have to poop.
Oh, man.
It's like, we don't need another one of these. So we stopped at the Dairy Queen, which is like right outside of Newport. And he didn't poop. He peed, but he didn't poop. Whatever, it's fine. So we continue on. We have a good time. That's the win. We had a good time at the beach. And then on the way home, we're driving. Maverick's like, I have to pee. And we're probably like halfway. And I'm like, okay, I don't have anywhere to pull over right now. Can you hold it? Can you hold it? And he goes, yeah. And then he's like, Mom, I have to pee. And I was like, okay, honey, we're getting there. I have to pee. Mom, I'm peeing.
Oh, like, no.
So then we had to pull back over into the same gravel pit. We made it that far. It was the same gravel pit on the way there. And then changed his clothes. I had an extra diaper, so I put the diaper upside down to absorb the pee, and then I just sat him on top of the diaper in his car seat to make it home.
I mean, what else do you do?
That was a rough travel.
Ugh.
And then right after that, probably like 5-10 minutes later, he's like, I have to pee. Okay. I'm like, you just peed, honey. And he's like, I have to pee. And I was like, well, I'm going to take him freaking seriously. So I pulled over again and let him out, and he did pee. And I was just like, oh my God, are we ever going to get home? And it was so hot, and my AC's like half working.
Oh.
So yeah, safe to say that was a fail.
Oh, man.
I almost texted you, and then I was like, I'm going to save it for the podcast.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, Maverick never did that. He never smeared poop on himself. The only time I ever had that happen was when I babysat a kid when I was younger, and he was about Maverick's age, and he smeared poop everywhere. All over himself, all over the walls, all over his bed. And I was like 13.
What does a 13-year-old do even in that situation?
I called my mom. And I said, Mom, he has poop all over him and he's asleep. Because I was told to lay him down in his room, shut the door, and he would take a nap. Well, I went to check on him like 20 minutes later, and I found him covered in poop, asleep. Just like Quincy.
Okay.
And I called her and I said, well, what do I do? And she said, well, go start the bath and just pick him up and go put him in the bath. And he might be upset because you're waking him up. So asleep, I picked him up, put him in the bath, and he freaked out. And I said, I'm sorry, you have poop all over you, kid.
Oh, man.
And then he was happy to play in the bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, don't recommend.
I have thankfully not experienced that yet, and
do.
hopefully never.
I hope you never do. So gross.
The worst that I've gotten is like one of them sticks their hand in their diaper and then they're like, ugh.
Yeah. We've had that a couple of times.
Ew.
With
yuck.
Maverick. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, so my win.
Let's move on from poop.
I I successfully made sourdough starter. And I gave you some.
Yay. Oh my goodness gracious.
Excited to use it. I guess a sourdough related fail. I had to do it 3 times.
I wish that was my fail. Oh my
There's
goodness.
my win and fail.
Maybe you should have went first.
Maybe I should have went first.
Oh man. Kids.
That's funny. That's so funny. In like a not funny way.
Uh-huh.
Because it is not funny.
Oh yeah, Michael and I were both like, we kept looking at each other like, what is going on?
That makes sense why he was like,
yeah.
when he was looking at me this morning about it.
Because I don't think he believed me that it was everywhere, because I was like, she has poop everywhere on her. And he pulled over and he opened up her door and he was like, oh my God.
I'm surprised you didn't take a picture.
Oh, I should have. I didn't even think about it. Honestly, it was so chaotic that I was just like, clean her immediately. And the grossest part is I'm pretty sure you know for a fact.
Nope. Stop. Stopping you right there.
You guys know where this is going.
You're done.
Yeah, I had to be there to witness it.
You're gonna have to give me a second.
Trauma.
We're going to now transition into talking about actual food.
Real food.
So let's decompress and we good? Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Feeding your baby.
feeding your baby. We together have 5 kids between us,
Yes.
all of whom are now eating solids.
Yes.
And have been for at least a few months for our youngest specifically. Anna was 9 months when she ate for the very first time. Damon was right at 6 months. What was Maverick?
Maverick was right at 6.
Right at 6 months.
Like the day.
Ellie, I don't exactly remember. We tried right at 6 months, but she just really wasn't interested. I think it was closer to 8 months before she actually started being interested fully in actually taking bites of things and not just immediately spitting it out.
Right.
And then Quincy, she was pretty young.
She was right under like a week or I think it was either 1 or 2 weeks before she turned 6 months. She was already sitting up and she lost the
Tongue thrust, whatever.
Yeah. So we were like, let's try it. When she first tried it, we started very slow because she was right under 6 months. So she only had like maybe a little teeny bite of whatever we were having. But Maverick, he started at 6 months.
What was Maverick's first meal?
He had avocado.
Anna had homemade applesauce.
Right. I remember the video.
Yep. And she didn't like it.
Nope. She did not.
She was immediately like...
It was very funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Maverick liked the avocado a lot. And then Quincy, I guess her first was technically, what was it called? It was like this tapioca pudding.
Oh,
that
I
Michael
remember you
was
telling me
eating.
about it.
Because it was just, he didn't give her the tapioca ball in it, but he gave her just like the cream part of it. It was like a coconut one that we got at Costco. And she loved it.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what she actually had.
Like when she started eating versus just like tiny little tastes.
What did I give her? Oh, I think I gave her banana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had a banana. That's what it was.
Damon, we gave him like his first food was like a meal. Not just like a single food. I was making tofu, rice, and bean sprouts that night. And instead of cutting the tofu into cubes like I normally do, I set some aside and cut them into strips.
Yeah.
And that's what he had. And he ate like at least half.
Yeah.
He loved it. Ellie's first like actual food, I want to say it was a pasta of some kind, and I want to say it was like the pastaroni, maybe the angel hair pasta with herbs or something like that. And that's what she had. And ever since she actually started eating, now she eats like everything.
Yeah.
And she loves tofu as well. My kids love tofu.
Mm-hmm.
We're not vegan nor vegetarian.
Right.
But we like tofu in the house.
Same. I mean, we used to be, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Quincy, the biggest thing that I've noticed is Quincy is my eater.
So is Ellie.
She will eat and eat and eat and eat and eat.
Mm-hmm.
And she loves
Damon was
food.
too.
See, Maverick, he loved food, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it was different. He wouldn't eat as much. And he was kind of just like, he was more snacky, I guess.
Okay.
Quincy's more like, give me a full meal.
I would say Damon was like that. Because Ellie is definitely more snacky.
Yeah.
She loves the snacks.
Mm-hmm. Maverick's a snacky guy. If he could just snack from breakfast till dinner, he would. And
So would Anna.
Quincy's not really my big snacker. Like, I got those the little puff dissolvable things because Maverick loved them.
Mm-hmm.
As it like love them. We were nonstop buying them. Quincy, she'll eat a few of them. Like, she likes them, but she's kind of just like, eh.
Quincy didn't really like Ellie didn't really like the puffs.
Yeah.
She like ate them.
Right.
But Damon would be sitting there being like, "Can I have those?"
Yeah. Maverick,
and if she
Maverick
left,
eats most of them.
yeah, if she walked away from him or crawled away, I guess at the time, he would be like, "Me eat them."
Yep.
I'm like, go ahead.
Yep.
Fine. Eat them.
Whatever. Yep.
And he's like, "Yay!"
That's exactly. Maverick loves them still. But Quincy, she'll eat them, like I said, but she's just not crazy about them. Now you give her some egg toast and blueberries in the morning. That girl, by the time she's done, she always slouches and she just is like,
She's like,
so
"I'm good."
happy. Yeah. It cracks me up.
So, when you were before you had kids, let's like back. Let's go way back.
Yes.
Before you had kids, and you were kind of, because I mean, you always wanted to be a mom, so I imagine that you probably did at least some research prior. Did you want to go the very typical like baby foods, purees, or were you looking more into like baby led weaning?
I was looking more into purees and doing them myself. I had always talked about how I didn't like a lot of the ingredients in just typical baby food. And I know they have better options now. They have like organic options and like things that have less extra products in it. But I wanted to blend up my own. And then I kind of got discouraged from a lot of people saying like, that's going to be a lot of work and you're not going to have time to do that. And now I think I probably wouldn't have with Maverick because that would have been really stressful, just being a first in the mindset that I was in after I had him. But with Quincy, I probably could have if that's the route that I wanted to go. But then I had looked into baby-led weaning a little bit as I was researching making your own pureed. And I was like, that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm probably just going to stick with making my own. And then through you, when you started doing baby-led weaning, I was like, maybe it's not as scary as I thought, you know? And so that encouraged me to be like, well, maybe I could do that. Because I loved the idea around it, but I was just scared.
Yeah. I was kind of the same way. I was really sitting in between the same, doing it myself, which is why I made my own homemade applesauce.
Right.
And baby-led weaning. I knew that with Anna, because she was my first, and I was like 19 years old and scared. I was like, I think that I want her first food to be a soft food, you know, just so that I could kind of get a feel for how she's going to have, like what reaction she's going to have and stuff like that. She ended up having a lot of trouble eating because she had the tongue tie that we didn't know about.
Right.
Or we knew about it, but we were told it wasn't as bad as it was, and that it was not supposed to cause any issues.
Yeah.
But it did end up causing issues, and she didn't actually start eating until well over a year old. She was like a year and almost 2 months by the time she actually started eating, because we finally got the tongue tie revised in January after she turned 1, and she turned 1 in November the year prior.
Right.
But so we started with the soft foods, and she could kind of get those down, but she seemed to struggle. And then it was after we did the tongue tie revision that, you know, we went back to the soft food. She did a really good job. And I was like, I'm going to just give her something. And I think we gave her boiled chicken.
Okay.
And we just like cut it in a thing. And she did a great job. And that was my first in-person doing it myself, baby-led weaning thing. And she did great. And then from there, we just started giving her bits of the food that we were making for dinner. Modified slightly. So like, you know, if we were doing spaghetti, I wasn't going to give her something with like loads of sauce.
Right.
We did, you know, I would give her her own noodles with like a little bit of sauce and kind of going from there. And we would cut up bigger pieces and stuff for her.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're fine. Bless you.
Thank you. And then I gained confidence.
Yeah.
As she got better and better and better with eating. And then I realized that, okay, it was the tongue tie that was causing the really big problem.
Right.
And then when my son was born and he had a tongue tie, I was like, snip, snip, right away.
Yep, exactly.
And then I decided for him to just go straight into it. And he did fantastic.
Yeah. They really, it's surprising how well they do because it's so ingrained into you that they have to start at purees. Because there's no way that they would know how to chew something up or gum something up. And it's just, it's strange because with Maverick, I was hesitant. I knew that that was the route that I wanted to at least try first. But I was hesitant. The moment I saw that he could just like, I was like, why would you even start with puree? I know that there's some reasons, like, you know, if they were having difficulty chewing or whatever, or I guess if there was just a lot of fear around it, then I can totally understand. But for me, I was just like, this is 10 million times easier. Like, it's harder because there's the fear, but it's easier because, like you said, you just feed them essentially what you're eating with maybe a modification if it's not cooked how they need to have it.
Exactly. And I mean, you'll look at like baby-led weaning groups and they'll talk about how like you need to prepare it differently. Like give them what you're eating, but prepare it differently. And like, you know, don't put all the seasonings on it. I never followed that rule.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I've always been just like, well, no, if when I cook it, it has salt on it, then so what? It has salt on it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they can't have salt. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to put extra
No, of course.
on it, but whatever I put on it when I'm cooking.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're going to eat it. I mean, they're going to get it through my milk anyways. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm the same way. The only thing that I take off is if anything's too spicy, or Maverick has now decided he does not like pepper.
Okay.
So every time I cook, I just don't use pepper anymore. And he actually eats a lot more now that what I cook.
Okay.
So I was like, that's an easy modification. I can just put it on my own afterwards.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for the most part, we just do exactly how we eat it.
I mean, it's just easier to.
Unless it's like something that isn't going to get soft enough for her, then I might slightly modify it.
Yeah. In those cases, sometimes I'll just leave whatever it is off of her plate.
Yeah, sometimes that too.
Or like, for example, the other night we were having steak, asparagus, corn, and cubed potatoes. So I gave her the potatoes, just cut them smaller because the cubes themselves, that's choking hazard.
Right.
She loves asparagus. That girl loves asparagus.
That's so cute.
We ended up not giving her corn because we had corn on the cob.
Oh.
And I mean, it was just easier to just not worry about the corn. But then instead of steak, we just heated up some chicken nuggets. And so like those are the kind of modifications we'll do if whatever it is that we're making is just either too difficult or whatever to modify. Then we'll heat up
Substitute
something. Yep, we'll substitute.
That's like sometimes we'll do broccoli in the oven, but I like my crunchy broccoli, like not super soft. And so in that instance, I'll usually just throw a couple in a pan with some water and just boil them for her. And then she can have the same thing.
Yep.
We love giving her corn on the cob, by the way.
Oh, she enjoys it?
You should try it.
Okay.
Quincy loves it. And she will just gnaw. A lot of times it's the ends that she likes to gnaw on. So like about this far down, all the way around the top and all the way around the bottom, all the corn will be gone. And then in the center, there's still a bunch of corn.
Oh, okay.
But she loves it. She does really good with it.
Interesting. Okay, I never even thought to try to give kids
have to try
corn on
it.
the cob, but
Yeah.
that little. Okay. Because we only just recently started giving it to Damon because he like couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Maverick loves it too.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have to try it because it's actually pretty funny watching them try to get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that next time.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It makes it more fun. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's nothing fun about sitting in front of them, feeding them.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking anybody who does it. I'm just saying for me, like,
oh yeah, I've never
that's
enjoyed
just
it either.
Tedious.
It is really tedious. And I mean, sometimes I'll feed her like for example, last night, I was just not feeling what we made for dinner. And I ended up deciding to make myself something else. Me and Thomas had a miscommunication on what we were making for dinner. I was under the impression we were doing it one way. He was the one who made dinner. So it ended up not being the way that I thought. And it was just like, I gave the example of like, I was looking at a menu and I ordered a chicken burger, when in reality, I ended up getting chicken nuggets and a burger. It's not that I don't like it.
Right.
It's just
not what you
not
wanted.
what I wanted. And so now I'm like disappointed.
Yep.
And so I was just like, I just don't want it. I really don't. And I couldn't convince myself.
Yeah. I've been there.
I ate some of it and it was delicious, but it was just like
not what you wanted.
Not what I wanted. So I didn't eat a ton of it. And then I ended up making myself, or Thomas made me some like, pastaroni Parmesan cheese one.
Yeah.
And I sat down on the couch and was eating some of it. We were watching Game of Thrones and Ellie was just like, what you got there, Mom? And she'll, like, I'll have my bowl, like, you know, right here up on my chest or whatever, and I'll just be eating it. And she'd be like looming over it with her face. She'd like reach for the fork, and so I'd get a little bit on the fork and turn it around, put it in her mouth, and she'd be like eating it. And then like 3 seconds later, what you got? Can I have some more?
Yep.
It was really funny. And so, like, you know, those would be the times where, you know, I'll feed her if I wasn't intending on giving her any.
Yeah.
Because she was supposed to be going to bed. Girlfriend was like,
right.
Nah, I'm hungry.
Right. I'm going to eat some food.
And she ate a ton of dinner.
Yeah.
It was good. It was, let me explain what I thought we were doing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious.
So we had beef tips.
Okay.
And I thought we were going to be cooking them kind of as if you would like season a steak and cook them, and they would be like a little pink in the middle.
Yeah.
With sauteed mushrooms.
Yeah.
And then have sauteed brown butter onions on the side with brown gravy and homemade mashed potatoes.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Well, the part that he did different was he cooked the steak in the gravy. And so there was no crispy outside. It was all just really soft.
More like stew.
It was a lot more like stew.
And I think you've told me before you're not the biggest fan of stew.
Not the biggest fan of stew.
Yeah.
And then he ended up getting the wrong kind of onion. He got a sweet onion. I don't like sweet onions. I like yellow onions. They are too sweet for me.
Oh.
I don't like them.
Interesting. Okay.
In certain circumstances, I think it'd be fine. But for a savory dish, I'm not a big, like, sweet and salty. Right. I don't enjoy that at all.
Right.
It throws me for a loop. There are very certain circumstances where I can handle it, but most of the time, no.
Are you a pineapple on pizza?
No. That's also why I don't like a lot of teriyaki from a lot of traditional teriyaki places, because the teriyaki is sweet.
Things are clicking for me. Okay.
Yep. I don't like it.
Okay.
And so if something is savory, I want it to be savory.
Right.
It can have like very small amounts of sweet. Like sometimes he'll make this like beef tips and rice thing, but he puts in too much brown sugar sometimes, and then it's automatic turn off.
Got you.
For me.
Got you.
And it has to be like just enough.
Just enough to get that like caramelization, but.
Yep. But sometimes he puts too much, and I can't. And so, you know, he cooked it with the brown gravy, and I also am not the biggest fan of brown gravy.
I was going to say, I didn't think you liked gravy.
I don't hate it, but I'm also the type of person, like, when I'm having spaghetti, I don't use a ton of sauce.
Right.
Flavors like that tend to overwhelm me. You know, and I like the taste of mashed potatoes. I like the taste of the noodles. I want to be able to taste it, not just the sauce.
Right.
And so I wanted to be able to have the mashed potatoes, a little bit of gravy, put the steak tips and the mushrooms that would be sauteed.
Right.
Not soggy. And then the caramelized onions over top. That is what I thought I was going to be eating for dinner.
Right.
That is not what I ate for dinner. And so it was like, it wasn't bad.
Right. It just definitely wasn't what you wanted.
No.
Yeah.
And preparing a steak in a liquid versus cooking it in like in butter or oil, wildly different flavor and texture.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay. So
how do I tell?
I was like, look, it's good. I was like, however, clearly I misread the menu. This is not what I ordered.
I'm going to need you to take this back to the kitchen.
I was like, this isn't what I ordered. And he's like, sorry. And I was like, well, it's good. Trust me. Like, if I had known that this is what I was going to have, I probably would be fine. But I was being picky. I'm acknowledging this right now. I was being picky.
Oh, yeah.
Picky as hell. But Ellie loved it. She ate, we gave her actually like 4 or 5 beef tips cut up pretty small. And she was like,
that's Quincy.
She loved it.
It amazes. Sometimes she eats more than Maverick.
It's crazy.
It amazes me.
Oh, yeah. And then she still wanted my pasta later.
I am kind of the same way with certain foods. And I am also very much a person that I have to be in the mood for the food to like it.
Yes, I am a mood eater.
Yes, it could be
100%.
something that I love. But if I'm not in the mood for it, I don't want it. I want something else.
And I don't know if it's hormones, because I swear it doesn't matter what life stage I'm in. I have always been this way.
Same.
Like, it was a few months ago. I want to say it was right around Ellie's birthday. Thomas made popcorn. We were just like going to sit down and have popcorn. And he was like, you want some? And I was like, absolutely not.
Right.
For some reason, the idea of eating popcorn was just gross to me. I just didn't want it. And I'm like that. I have always been like that.
Right.
Growing up, didn't matter. I could just not be in the mood for the food, and then I just don't want it. It's gross.
That's the same for me.
Sometimes I don't even want to smell it. I'm like,
it drives Michael nuts though, because he's a very like, he's like, whatever you want for dinner, like whatever you're making sounds great, and I'm like, but nothing sounds great.
Yeah.
I think that's again, I sound like, a broken record, but that's another big struggle for dinner, is because if I'm not in the mood for it, I don't want it. So if we're already late on the time, then it takes me forever to decide what I actually want.
Same.
I'm like the stereotypical girl, like, where do you want to eat? Eat wherever. No, I don't want that.
Yep. The other day we made tofu rice and bean sprouts. For some reason, Thomas was the one who picked it, and I was just not feeling it.
Yep.
It's like, I don't want this. I was like, but I would like some sushi though. So he went and got me some sushi.
Yep, been there. We had tofu in our tofu press for like 4 days in the fridge, because I was supposed to make it one night for dinner, and then I ended up like, no, I don't want that. And the next night I was like, no, I don't want that. And then we ended up having to throw it away because it was just in there for so long.
That is so funny.
Yeah. My kids, so far, Maverick's not super, super picky. There are certain things that he just doesn't like. But he's almost always willing to try something.
My kids are not that way.
Unless he's just really not in the mood. Like the other day, we got macaroni salad, and he loves noodles, loves pickles. Would not try it. Like, would not.
Okay.
But for the most part, he'll try anything, especially if he sees us eating it. If we're eating it, he's like, what you got there? And I'll even tell him, I'm not sure if you'll like it, but you can try it. And he'll try it, and sometimes he goes, yummy. And then other times he's like, bleh, and he'll spit it out.
That's funny.
Well, I told you.
My oldest, Anna, she's very picky.
Yeah.
If she doesn't know for a fact that she likes it, it could be something that she ate a month ago and loved, and then we make it again, and she's like, I don't like it. I'm like, no, you liked it last time. Try it. And then she will throw the biggest tantrum and just be like, absolutely not, I'm not trying that. And we have a rule in our house: you have to take 2 bites, because the first bite you're not going to taste it.
Right.
You're going to get that down as quickly as you can.
Right.
By the second bite, hopefully you will at least, whatever, if by that second bite, and it needs to be like an actual bite, it can't just be like the
right, just a little corner of something.
Yeah. Then if by the second bite you still don't like it, you don't have to have it.
Yeah, right now we don't have a 2-bite rule. We just have you have to try it, because he just doesn't understand he'll just freak out and he does not want to try it. And so I'll just have him, okay, you have to put it in your mouth and you have to chew it. And it'll be like a solid bite. And sometimes it's a fight. And sometimes I want to give up.
Yeah.
That's the hardest time for me, is when he's having a fit about not trying something. And in my head, I'm like, I wouldn't want to be forced to try it. But at the same time, I know that he needs to try these new things. So if he just tries it once and he doesn't like it, then he doesn't have to eat it. And I always tell him, you don't have to swallow it. You just have to try it. And it's funny because at first I thought, well, that's just going to teach him, you know, spit it out every time if he doesn't want it, not necessarily doesn't like it. But the other day I tried to get him to do it. We had squash, potatoes, like cube potatoes, and chicken. I already know he doesn't like chicken. He's not the fan. Not a fan of it. But I still had him try a piece of the chicken, a piece of the squash, and a piece of the potato because he just wanted nothing. And I know he likes the potatoes and I know he likes the squash. So he put the chicken in his mouth, immediately spit it out. Then we tried the squash, immediately spit it out. And I was like, he's just going to keep spitting these things out. And I was like, you have to try the potato. And he tried the potato and he chewed it all the way up, swallowed it. And he was like, while he was eating it. And I was like, is that yummy? And he swallowed and he goes, nope. And I was like, you little turd. Because I know he likes potatoes. But it also took us probably 30 minutes to get him to do that. And it was screaming and crying the whole time.
Yeah. And gosh, when it comes to kids and eating and all of that, it is such a struggle to determine when is the fight no longer worth it.
Right.
And it's just better that they eat. And, well, if I do this, then I'm teaching them that they can just fight me and then I will just cave.
Right.
It's like there's that fine line. And that's why
it's so hard.
It really is. Because no matter what, you feel like you're doing something wrong.
And it's such a struggle too, because like you said, you know, I spent 30 minutes trying to get him to eat 3 bites. He only ended up swallowing 1 of them. And then he didn't want it anymore. So am I just to say like, oh, now you don't get dinner?
Yeah.
Or do I make him something else? So my thing is you try everything. And if you do not like it, I will get you something else. But it has to be something that's not like, you're not getting ice cream, you're not getting, you know, a popsicle, you're not, you know what I mean? I always try to put something on his plate that I know he likes. And that night I thought it was the potatoes, but apparently I was wrong that night.
Yeah, because that's the advice they give.
Yeah.
When you're going to offer new foods or food that you're not sure if they're going to like, or you know that they don't.
Right.
At least have something that they do like. But then not every meal is going to be that. And it's like, and if, you know, and I mean, granted, let's say you have consistently tried to give your kid something and you just know that they have never liked this thing. Let's say your kid hates spaghetti.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't like the sauce. Maybe whatever. You can always modify it and just know that every time you make this, you're going to have to modify it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, or you can continue the fight.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some people will be like, oh, well, if they don't like it, just have them try it again. Which we follow that rule.
Yeah.
You know, if it's been more than a month since you've tried it, we're going to have you try it again next time we make it. If it's been only like a week and you didn't like it, then maybe I'll give it a pass, depending on what it was. If you've tried it and you liked it in the past, but then you suddenly didn't last time, you're trying it again.
Yeah.
But I know that, you know, taste buds don't always change to the fact of like so much that they're going to like it. Like I have never liked scalloped potatoes.
Right.
They make me want to vomit. I hate them.
Yeah.
It is one of the only foods that I cannot get down. I like cheese. I like potatoes. Don't like scalloped potatoes.
Right.
Doesn't matter who's preparing them. I can't have them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
See, that's where I struggle too, because, okay, if I was given something and I don't like it as an adult, I am going to go get something that I want and what I like, you know? And so why can't my kid do that? You know? And so I struggle with that because I'm like, yes, I don't want him just eating like junk food or always at a meal. I don't want him always having something else. Like he needs to try new foods. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, I wouldn't eat it if I didn't like it, you know?
On occasion, depending on how in-depth a certain meal is, like we made broccoli pasta the other day. And I was making dinner, and Anna was like, what are we doing for dinner? And I was like, oh, we're having broccoli pasta. And she's like, Mommy, I really don't want that today. Can I have something else? And I was like, well, you asked me very, very nicely. What would you like to have?
Right.
And she was like, can I have chicken and carrots? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
And then Damon and Anna actually ended up having chicken and carrots. And me and Thomas were like, fine, more for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's such a fine line, like you were saying. Because you don't want your kid to grow up to, like, they only eat, like, the stereotypical, like, macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and nuggets and, you know, junk food. You know, you want them to try new things. And I think baby-led weaning helps with that because they try so many new foods as a baby, and they actually get the texture of said foods. And so I think I've noticed with Maverick, he's more willing to try new things, and he likes a variety of textures. It's not just the same thing every time, you know.
And Anna, you know, she's 5.5. She's recently started, like, if we put multiple things on her plate, she will start to try all of them together.
Oh.
Like when we had tofu, rice, and bean sprouts, she'll put a little bit of rice, a little bit of tofu, a little bit of bean sprouts, all in one thing. She'll eat the whole thing together. So she's starting to learn that, like, oh, sometimes combining flavors tastes good.
Right.
I'm now suddenly in the mood to having talk fuck. I am suddenly in the mood for having tacos for dinner.
Ooh, yes.
So let me give an example of kind of how that looks like in our house. So when we make tacos for dinner, we always have avocado, we always have cheese, we always have lettuce, we always have shrimp and the taco meat, and then Spanish rice. We allow the 2 older kids, because they're old enough to be able to verbalize, hey, I want this, or I don't want this, make their own with help.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay, do you want a deconstructed taco or do you want an actual taco? Damon almost always goes for the deconstructed one, so he doesn't ever have a tortilla. He doesn't like them. Anna, however, she gets her own tortilla. And be like, okay, you know, let's put whatever. And she's been slowly adding more things to her taco.
Oh, that's nice.
Especially because she'll see me put shrimp, the beef in there. She'll see me put the cheese, all of it.
Right.
Thomas puts sour cream in his, and he'll put the rice all in his, and
Yeah.
with hot sauce and all that. And so he's even starting. He likes to eat sour cream straight.
You're gonna have to give me a minute now.
Oh yeah. It,
wow.
Like,
Imagining that is sickening.
Oh yeah. Thomas, he was like, oh, can I have some? And Thomas thought he was gonna, like, dip his shrimp in it or something. No. Thomas put a little bit on his plate and he was like, oh, yum. Thomas was like, yeah, dip your shrimp in it. And he, like, dipped his shrimp in it, licked it off, and then he picked up his spoon and went,
oh my gosh. No.
And me and Thomas just stared at him and we were like, is that good, bud? And he's like, finished all of it. And then he was like, more, Daddy? I'm like, okay. Thomas was like, you want me to give him more? I'm like, I don't know.
Right? That's so hard. Oh, God.
I don't. Yes? No?
Sure.
Yuck.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough. That's rough.
Ugh.
I guess when I was a kid, though, I liked butter.
Thomas does too.
I would always sneak butter out of the tub. Isn't that weird?
Thomas did that too. He would
Michael
also
said
just,
he
like,
did it too.
stick butter.
Oh, I would not do that. It was like my mom got the country crock, and you know,
Yep,
how,
that's what we have.
You know how, like, it always has the little bloop
Yep.
in the middle? I would always sneak that.
Disgusting. I can barely handle, like, a teeny tiny bit that I get on, like, if I have to, like, scrape it off with my thumb or something. Yeah. But even that's too much for me a lot of the time.
Yeah. I can't do it now. Now it has to be, like, melted into, like, toast or something. A lot of talk of food here.
Ellie likes food.
Real quick before we wrap it up, I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
What has been your experience with outsiders, family, friends, strangers, when you're feeding your kids, like, actual food and they're very little?
So we haven't had much, like, strangers because we never really took the kids out to restaurants and stuff. But my mom, she's gonna listen to this and say whatever. Hi, Mom. She's always like, are they okay? Are they gonna be okay? And like one of the kids would be like, doing the thing where they gag.
Yeah.
They're not choking, they're gagging.
Right.
And she'd be like, oh my God. I'm like, Mom, she's fine.
Yeah.
Even Thomas did that a little bit at first, but it's almost always other people. But there haven't been a ton of other people. The couple of times that we have been at like restaurants and stuff and like the littles are eating, I always get like a waitress who will just eye them really closely when they come and check up on us. I forget where we were. I want to say we were like driving somewhere, and so we stopped at like Wendy's or something, and I gave Ellie like a French fry, and they had forgotten to give us something, and so they walked over and brought it to us, and they saw Ellie have a French fry. This was a few months ago, so she was a little smaller, and Ellie's kind of she looks like a baby. Ellie's a baby looking baby. And she's not really a waitress. The employee kind of just like looked at her like, why does this baby have a French fry?
Yeah.
And I was like also offering her like a little bit of my burger too, and she was just like, I'm like eating some of it, and this employee is just looking at me like I'm insane.
Yeah, we've gotten some strange looks before.
Yeah, because you guys have gone out to eat, I think, more than we have.
And nobody's ever said anything.
Yeah,
but they do just kind of like give you like a look, and they kind of like widen their eyes a little bit, like, what are you doing to your kid? And I'm very much like, even at a restaurant, maybe this is gross, but I just will put the food like on the table and push the high chair up to it, and just as long as the table looks clean, and sometimes I've had to like wipe it down with my own thing, but I just set it on the table and let her and him let him go to town.
Hands are always disgusting.
Yeah, I think I'm more lax on the dirtiness than most parents probably.
Sometimes I'll like take a baby wipe and wipe it down, and then I do it, but that's kind of like the most that I'll do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I'm not too concerned.
I know that they come by and they wipe it off.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
And usually those are like sanitizer rags that have been in a sanitizer or bleach or something. And
right.
Like, cool. It's dry. Yeah. It's fine.
So I just I just stick it on the table and let them go at it.
Yeah. Michael's
grandma, she's the one that's always like, are they okay? Is that too big? And I'm like, no, they're fine. Like, we went over there the other day, and Maverick loves tomatoes. And Quincy does too. And so she had cut up a tomato in like kid-sized chunks, and I was just giving them to Quincy, and she's like, that's too big, that's too much. And I'm like, she does fine. Yeah. We just gotta watch her. That's it.
It's especially hard, I think, for those that grew up with the purees, which the thing I've always been confused by is, how do you transition out of them?
Right. If I'm remembering from when my parents did it for my brothers, it was like puree, and then there's like stages that you can buy.
Right.
And they start to get like chunkier and chunkier. And then eventually it's like cut up like peas and carrots, and but they're like still really mushy. And then as they get older, it just maybe that's why there's a whole generation of kids that are like stuck on, like, if you think about it, mac and cheese is really soft, hot dogs are really soft, chicken nuggets are really soft. Maybe that's why there's a whole generation that's their jam.
Maybe. Interesting. Yeah, because I've never required them to be soft. Granted, like, I'm not giving Ellie raw carrots.
Right.
Because, I mean, she couldn't bite them to save her life anyways.
Yeah.
But they're also hard to chomp on. But, like, as soon as they get their molars, I stop being... I'm way less strict on what they have.
Yeah. And I get way less strict on size. The only thing is I usually, if it's like a grape or a large tomato, I'll just cut it in the long way. But for the most part, like Maverick, he's just, you do what you got to do, buddy.
Yep. He's eating his stuff.
I'm in the same room as him always when he's eating. So I'm there if something happens, but I'm not watching him like a hawk. Quincy, I watch pretty closely, but still I'm,
Yeah. She's got it.
She's got it. And I was way more lax with her.
Yeah, I'm the same way. The more kids I have, the more lax I get.
Yep.
I mean, and every kid's different, and every kid is going to, like some things over others and have difficulties with some things over others.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I mean, they figure it out. Like, I'm not going to give my kid, like, really crunchy tortilla chips, but Ellie's enjoying graham crackers at this stage.
Yeah.
But, they work their way up for things, but I don't know. I just never really subscribed to the purees.
Yeah, same
thing. I mean, yes, and technically
they'll have purees.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even adults. I mean, it's
yogurt, applesauce.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we're not going out of our way to blend carrots into a puree.
No.
Just give them a boiled carrot.
It's all good.
Or a soft carrot, however you're cooking it.
Mm-hmm. Boiled, steamed.
Yep.
Some yummy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I won't say that it's for everyone.
No, not necessarily.
But I think that it offers a lot of pros.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get into the science of, like, how it can help you later on in life.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of those. This podcast will be very, very long if we get into that.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, in general, I think if you're somebody who, because I really think that the deciding factor is if you as the parent can handle it.
Right.
Because if you have too much fear surrounding it,
mm-hmm.
You're going to be panicky the entire time, and that's not worth it.
And then you're going to show your kid that food is panicky,
mm-hmm.
Because now you are putting that on them.
Exactly. And so, it's going to be different for every single family, and there really is no wrong way. Mm-hmm. As long as the kid transitions eventually, yes, there are certain ways that are going to be better than others mm-hmm. as far as, like, science goes.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's what works for you and your family.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, that goes for everything, but in this topic specifically with food.
Yeah, definitely. I don't judge people who give purees because I can understand how that would be easier in some respects.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, as long as you're, as long as whatever you're giving your kid is age appropriate,
mm-hmm.
like, I mean, if your kid's 5 years old and still eating stage 2, that's maybe
that
a
might
question.
Be a conversation.
I may be looking at you a little funny. Or if your kid's just, 6 months old and eating raw salmon, I might also look at you real funny.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
It's also based off of culture and what everybody's comfortable with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as long as you do you and you're happy with what you're doing and everybody's happy, then great.
Mm-hmm. And that's our take on that.
Mm-hmm. And our opinions are not always going to be your opinions.
And they're not fact.
We're not. No. And we're not trying to say here that what we do is the only concrete way to do it.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. Nope. Just our experience and how we've done things with our kids. So.
Yep. And we just happen to have a lot of the same.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're just agreeing with the situation, but it's because a lot of the things we do we're not doing the opposite of each other. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's hard for us to have, like, the two opinions.
Yeah.
We always try to include it,
mm-hmm.
but it's not like one of us believes opposite than the other.
Yeah.
So we need
to find a topic.
I know. That's what I was just thinking.
Where we disagree with each other.
Yeah.
And just
so we can have a nice debate.
Yeah. Because we've never done that.
Yeah.
Because we just agree too much.
Or we could pretend. I'm going to play the person who doesn't believe in this.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be interesting. We'll have to think on that to see if we can find a topic that you and I at least have maybe not necessarily exact disagreements,
mm-hmm.
but have a difference of enough of an opinion on it where we can have a genuine conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I feel like the closest we've got to that so far was the diaper episode.
Right.
But still neither of us really disagreed with each other.
And maybe that's just what it would be. Neither of us would actually disagree. Yeah, that'd be interesting, though.
Yeah. I'll have to think on that. Maybe I'll tell you what me and Thomas had a disagreement on yesterday, and we can determine if you and I disagree or not. But yeah.
So if you guys have any polarizing topics, send them in.
Yes. Let us know, what's your hot take.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see if maybe that can be... We can have a hot take episode.
We can try.
We
sure can try.
We'll see if we can come up with any.
Yeah.
We are really similar people, and we talk about parenting a lot with each other.
Outside of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have for years.
Yeah.
And we tend to bounce ideas and stuff off of each other all the time, which is why we often have similar opinions.
Exactly.
We also grew up with each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're different people, but we're the same person.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we married very similar men.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. Well, we will see you next week. Remember to leave us down your hot take down below or in the comment section or wherever.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.